Welcome to Smex Ed. Class is in session.
I'm your host, Amanda King, and I'm here to teach anybody who wants to fucking listen how to have the audacity to say fuck it to societal standards and live their most authentic life. This podcast is dedicated to bringing the sexual conversations we have behind doors onto the main fucking stage. Because sex, masturbation, squirting, guess what? It is all normal. And by bringing these conversations to the forefront, we help people feel less alone in this world. We help them feel safe. We help them gain their power back. We help them step into their confidence and express themselves sexually in this world unapologetically. Because it takes fucking audacity to be your truest self. And we have a boatloads of audacity all up in this bitch. So let me ask you this. Are you ready for some epic shit?
Go over kind of a brief synopsis of the different styles of vaginal O's that women can have. The question was, what is the difference between a clitoral O and a vaginal O sensation-wise? Like, how do they feel different? But I kind of want to give a brief synopsis of the type of vaginal O's that a woman can go through before we go in this. So, first things first, we have the clitoral O. Now, the clitoris is it is the most highly sensitive area on a woman's vulva. Struggling to get this out today, on a woman's vulva. So the clitoris has 10,000 nerve endings. Now, when we are looking at a vulva, the clitoris, what you see popping out, like that little nub, people call it a button, is not the full clitoris. That's actually the clitoral hood. The full clitoris actually goes down the sides of the labia, is about 2.5 inches wide and about 4.5 inches long. So you can stimulate the clitoris by stimulating the hood, the little kind of button you see, which also the clitoris varies in shape and size. There we go. So your clitoris can be like tiny, like the tip of a fingernail size, or it can be as large as a baby gherkin's pickle. All are completely normal. All are wonderful. All deserve to be touched and played with. So your clit has 10,000 nerve endings. So we want to make sure that when we are playing with our partner, we are experiencing any type of foreplay or penetration with our partner, that we are always involving the clit. The clit is key. It is literally the key to some of the most powerful, intense orgasms. So what does a clit orgasm feel like? This is going to vary person to person. And this is why it's so hard when someone says like, hey, what are the different sensations? How do they differ? It depends on the individual. So a lot of time clitoral orgasms can feel shallow to some people. They can feel really deep and full body to people. Some people can squirt and or ejaculate via just clitoral stimulation alone. Every single person is different. So when it comes to your partner's body, it's more about one, making sure that they know their body, meaning they know how to please their body, they know how to stimulate their body. And number two, that they're able to communicate to you, hey, this is what I like, this is what works. These are the motions that I like when you are playing with my clit. So different types of stimulation you can do for clitoral orgasms are any type of toy. There are a variety of different types of clitoral toys, such as vibrators, air pulse technology toys, which are my personal hands down favorite clit style toys. There are clit suction toys that will literally suck onto your clit, cause it to engorge. Now, when we are talking about clitoral orgasms, sometimes it's a little bit different. They can happen very quickly because of the amount of nerve endings in them, and they tend to be very intense. So some women actually fear clitoral orgasms because of the intensity that it causes. They're afraid to use toys. They're afraid to have their partner go down on them and do whatever they want because of the fact that it is very intense. Typically with clitoral orgasms, the first couple you have via the clit tend to be a bit more shallow, and the longer you work the clit, the more intense the orgasm will be. Why? Because when the clit is aroused, When the clit is stimulated, it takes 20 to 40 minutes for it to become fully aroused. And you can start seeing it become aroused because it will get bigger. All the blood will rush to the clit. The clit will begin to swell. The more it swells, the more sensitive it becomes, the more intense your orgasms can be. So if you are having like 2 to 3 quick clitoral orgasms at the beginning of a solo session and or a partner session, don't be afraid to push the boundaries of it. Don't be afraid to explore longer and with more intense stimulation, because the orgasms will get bigger and bigger and bigger because your clit is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And remember, you're only seeing the swelling of the clitoral hood. The whole thing swells. So the sides of your labia become more sensitive, helping you being able to come much harder, quicker, faster. All of the good things. Now, when we are looking at the vagina itself, or the vulva as what it is medically called, we have 3 holes. Women have 3 holes. If you didn't know this, here is your fucking anatomy lesson. We have a urethra hole. The urethra is where we peep through, right? Bladder, urethra, pee. Number 1. The second hole you will see is the vaginal canal. Now, the vaginal canal is exactly that. It is your vagina. It's where we penetrate. It is for sexual pleasure, and it is for childbirth. Then you have the anus, which is the third hole. Now, when we are looking at the vulva, the 2 top holes, all 3 holes can be stimulated, but we're not going to talk about the anus today. So the top hole is your urethra. This is a highly dense nerve ending area, but this is only when it comes to external stimulation. You never, ever, 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 ever want to stick anything inside of your urethra. So this is external stimulation, and some women can have orgasms via this type of stimulation. And it is literally as easy as like rotating your finger circular like patterns of around the urethra while you're playing with the clit, while you're penetrating them with the toy. If you're going in solo play, it is about taking the toy. If it vibrates, you can stick it obviously in your vaginal canal, but you can also take the toy out and go around the urethra with the toy to create a vibrating sensation around that. Some people can have pure urethra or orgasms. Next, we have the vaginal canal, which contains 3 different erogenous zones. Now, the first erogenous zone is the one everyone is the most familiar about, which is the G-spot. I will say, the original study of the G-spot was conducted in 1957. I think it was 57. And that study has lately been debunked, or modern science and scientific studies are saying that, hey, listen, this study was misinterpreted. Not every woman has a G-spot. We don't even know if it exists. If it exists, it's not a spot. Like, it's not like you're going to feel a walnut or a stone in there. Unlike the prostate, you will feel it. But with a G-spot on a woman, you're not going to feel it. It's not an actual spot. It's more of an erogenous zone. And now they're saying it's an extension of the clitoris as well. So it's this modern science, and like the female body is constantly changing every single day with what they're discovering, which is really freaking cool. But knowing that, what we have found is that not every woman may have a G-spot. So how do you figure out if your partner has a G-spot or you have a G-spot on your own? What you want to do is you want to take a toy and or your fingers. If you're using your fingers, you want to lubricate them very, very much. You want to go about 2 inches inside the vaginal canal. So the Jimmy spot. The G-spot is stimulated by shallow thrusting. So if you are penetrating your partner, it is not about full thrusting, it's shallow thrusting. If you're using your fingers or a toy, you're going up about 2 inches, and you want to kind of do a come hither motion with your fingers up against the vaginal canal. This will stimulate the G-spot. If you have a toy, only go about 2 inches inside, or get one that is a G-spot specific toy. Turn the toy on. See how it feels. Like I said, if you're penetrating your partner, you want to make sure that you're only doing shallow thrusts to stimulate the G-spot. Now, the G-spot, about 3 inches up, anywhere between 3 to 6 inches within the vaginal canal, is the A spot. This is the anterior fornix erogenous zone. Once again, this is a zone. It's not a specific spot. Now, this is up against the front vaginal wall. So if you were using your fingers, you want to go up, and a lot of studies say do a windshield wiper motion up against the front of the wall. So if like your vaginals there, like up against this front wall to help stimulate that area. Once again, toys, find ones that are A-spot specific, put the toy up there, turn it on. The third and final vaginal canal orgasm that you can have is the cervical orgasm. Now, a few things about the cervical orgasm. One, if you've had a hysterectomy, you cannot have a cervical orgasm, or if you've had them before, a hysterectomy can change the way you orgasm in general, but especially with a cervical orgasm, you may not have the ability to orgasm that way, which is really upsetting. And I apologize if that's happened to you, but don't worry, there are plenty of other style orgasms you can explore. But when we are talking about a cervical orgasm, this is like the deepest penetrative orgasm that a person can feel. A lot of this is by deep thrusting. By a lot of the women I speak to say that in order to feel a cervical orgasm, they have to be on top of their partner, because then they can fully place their partner inside of them and they have control of the depth, so they can take it slow. Now, some people do find cervical orgasms a little, what's the word I'm looking for? Painful, because the area is very sensitive. It's chock full of nerve endings. And so if you are doing deep thrusts and it is hurting you, you could be one of those people who are experiencing the fact that the cervical orgasm is a little sensitive. A few things you can do to help that is, one, more lubrication. Like, lubrication is key. Any type of water-based lube is going to do wonders for you. Even if you are already naturally lubricated, like you're really into it, you're very aroused, still use lubrication. It also can be positioning that causes it to hurt a little. So if you are on your back trying missionary and it's not feeling great, try going on top. Cowgirl, reverse cowgirl, doggy style sometimes can help hit that spot. So it's more about finding the positioning for you and your partner, because remember, every body is different. So when we look at positioning during intercourse as well, like we see books on like, oh, hey, here's this position, and two partners come in and it's just not meshing. You're like, this doesn't feel good. This kind of hurts a little. Like, what's going on? It's all about just communicating to your partner and adjusting the positioning. So for example, some people on doggy style, like they like to be on all fours. Some people that hurts. So some people actually have to come down and make the angle a little bit more extreme, either having their partner stand up or having them kind of slouch down into like an assisted plank position almost. Some people like to bring their legs, like their knees out into a more Frogger position. It's more comfortable for them. It's about exploring with your partner and communicating with them to figure out what spots work best. But those are the different styles of orgasms you can have within the vaginal canal. Some say that the cervical is the deepest, like most full-bodied orgasm that you can have. That is the one that a lot of people will say typically is like the involuntary convulsing and or shaking of the legs and or body is typically a deep cervical orgasm. With A spot and G spot, it really honestly varies. Some people say they feel exactly the same. Some people say A spot is a little bit more full bodied and G spot is a little bit more shallow. It all depends on the person. And that's why it's so hard to answer those style questions of like, what does it feel like? Well, it's going to change from person to person. So explore with your partner, explore with yourself, see what feels best for the two of you in your session and or with yourself. There are so many toys that you can buy that are vaginally like specific toys to hit the G spot, the A spot, and cervical orgasms. There are smildos, you know what I'm actually saying, right? That have suction cup bases that you can put on things to be able to simulate real sex and be able to see if you can hit those areas on your own. But that is all that I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. Once again, if you know someone who needs to hear this, feel free to share the shit out of my videos, guys. Like, I love when you guys share my videos. So share my content so that the world can get a little bit more sex education that we all should.
Thank you so much for listening to Smex Ed with Amanda. And some parting words for you today. Remember this: no matter how hard society pushes you down, no matter how many times you fall, as long as you get the fuck back up, they can never stop you. You are unfuckable with. You will win. Don't allow this world to dictate how you show up in it. Don't allow society to make you bend the knee. Instead, make them bend theirs. And don't forget, if you like what you heard, go on to iTunes and Spotify and leave your girl a review. Until next time, my beautiful people.